and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host, Sid Marsh, and with me tonight is Gary Tofanelli, the supervisor from District 1. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Sid. Nice to be here.
Oh, well, let's find out what's going on with the soups. Okay, that's really a good idea. We talked a little bit earlier, and you mentioned something about the Wagon Trail project. Can you fill us in a little bit on that?
Yeah, the Wagon Trail project is a realignment of Highway 4 coming up from Copper to Angels Camp, the city. It's been a long time problem with accidents on that stretch of road.
Sure.
And the curves and the narrowness of it. This project's been on the books or progressing for, at least the last decade or so. Since I've been back in 2008 and 9, it was just starting. And we're finally progressing to the point where we have pretty much all the easements that are needed. Environmental is done. And we're progressing. We have some funding. We have state and federal funding. We got COG through COG, and I'm a member of COG and been a member of COG for a while. We just got $6.8 million grant from the federal government for that project, and we had our COG funds set aside for it. So we're pretty well set to do at least the first stage and possibly the second stage.
What are the two stages?
There's actually three stages, and
Okay.
One would be from Copper to Pool Station, and then Pool Station to Appaloosa, and then from Appaloosa to the city. So we're looking to get those first two stages complete and start construction, if everything goes right, this year.
Oh, okay, so you'll break ground, so to speak, this year.
Yeah, so there'll be some delays there later in the year as we move forward on the construction part of it, and hopefully within the next couple of years that project will be complete and it'll be safer route for everybody that travels that way on their way to wherever they're going.
Have you had any pushback from people? I know you're taking over some land and that sort of thing, and dividing up properties.
You know, initially we did.
Yeah.
There were so many different things and so many different alignments that could have went. But once we got the initial alignment, we really haven't had any pushback at all, so to speak, on what the final diagram is of that. You know, there are landowners that we have to buy easements from and buy some land from to go realign it. And, you know, that's fine. They're looking to get what they can get for their property, and that's fine. I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
Now, is this going to be 2-lane, 4-lane?
It's going to be 2-lane.
Just 2-lane,
It's
not a
going to be
4-lane.
2-lane, not a 4-lane.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. But it'll be wider than it presently is, and it'll be straighter. There'll still be curves in it, but it won't be as dangerously curved as it is now. And the number of accidents that happen there, and a number of fatal accidents, and hopefully we can correct some of the issues that Pool Station Road. There's been a number of accidents there because the Caltrans had done some improvements at that intersection, but nothing beyond it. And the curves, there's a really deadly stretch of curves right after Ponderosa. If you're coming from Copper to the city, that seems to be a problematic area through there.
So will it actually cut down the travel time a little bit? I mean, it'll help tourism, that kind of thing? I don't know.
It depends on how people drive. The speed limit will still be 55 miles an hour.
Right.
So whether it cuts down the travel time or not, whether people drive the speed limit or not, I don't have any control over that.
Okay.
So.
And you mentioned a couple other projects before about the animal shelter.
Yeah, recently, you know, for a number of years, and as long as I've been on the board, there's always a grand jury report complaining about, and I wouldn't say complaining, but that has an issue with our current animal shelter, and we have done some improvements to it over the years, but it seems like nothing ever gets done. However, this year, just recently, the board has appointed Supervisor Callaway and myself to be on an ad hoc committee addressing the animal shelter and the jail. There's some issues at the jail that still persist since it's been opened. But the animal shelter, yes, we're looking to, Marita and I, looking forward to meeting and coming up with a shovel-ready project. That means plans. We have a set of plans that the board has approved, and it's ready to go, and we will look for funding through either state or federal government with some of the CARES Acts or some of the recent funding that's coming out that has to do with portions of that money going to infrastructure to build America and get going. So we're looking for that, and if you have a shovel-ready project, then you go to the top of the list because it's ready to go. All we need is funding for it. We're actually looking for some CIP funding and other funding mechanisms through the county.
CIP?
CIP is Capital Improvement Project funds.
Okay.
Sorry, CIP. Yeah,
Just letting everybody know.
Yeah. And looking for funding within the county to get going on it and get it started and move forward with it. So I think this is a positive thing for the animal shelter, that we now have 2 supervisors on the ad hoc committee that their task is to get this accomplished. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Will it increase capacity? I mean,
oh yes,
yeah,
oh yes.
That's what
increase capacity and better for the animals that are housed there.
How about as far as staffing? Will you have to increase
staffing?
Your staffing? It's all part of the project.
All part of the project moving forward. So a better animal shelter for not only the animals but everyone.
A good experience for everyone. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Whether you go in there to adopt or you go in there to pick up your animal because it got picked up somewhere for something or what have you, it would be a good facility, and it should modernize everything that we have.
Is there a connection between the animal shelter and the Humane Society, or is that just totally different?
Well, there was at one time that they were, again, I wasn't in office at the time, there were a proposal that the county would provide property and the Humane Society would provide some funding to build a shelter, not staff it or go forward from that. Although the Humane Society would put some people in there as volunteers. But that kind of all fell apart. I can't tell you why. I wasn't here at the time. I don't know the whole inner workings of what happened, but there were some plans drawn up and there was some land dedicated for it. But the project never developed, so.
So they're 2 different organizations.
Yeah, they're 2 different organizations. Yeah.
And you mentioned the jail as well as another project.
Yeah, the jail. Like I was talking, we had a conversation earlier. Originally, when the jail was being built, first portion of it, I was on the board, and I was on an ad hoc committee at that time that oversaw the construction on a weekly meeting with the contractor that we had for that project. And when I left, there was nobody with real construction background. My background's been construction my whole life. So whatever happened, again, I wasn't in office, I don't know, but the jail was completed. And once the jail was completed and signed off, issues started coming up. We have a number of dryers, big size dryers in the laundry area room meant for large capacity. The exhaust for those dryers, not only the exhaust system going out overhead, the ducting was reduced in size and put corners in. The vent going outside for it was reduced. And so what's transpired in that particular area of the jail is we had initially dryer after dryer motor burn up.
Right.
Because there was not enough velocity or airspace to carry the amount of exhaust out of the building.
Hazard, actually, yeah.
Yeah, volume-wise. So now we're looking to get that issue resolved, but it's been going on for a number of years they can only use one dryer at a time right now because that's all it will handle. And sometimes it won't handle that. They could have to reduce some of the pressure on that. There's a number of other issues. There was some roofing issues and some skylight issues and some other construction areas that have some problems that we will be going through and making a list and sitting down and discussing how we're going to go forward on it. It could exceed a large number. I wouldn't go, it could get to $1 million, but I don't think so just offhand. I haven't seen everything. But again, it's hampering operations that really need to be addressed, and it's not what the county paid for. It's not what was on the contract drawings. It's not, the space and volume is not what was spec'd out for the dryers in this one area. So it needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed properly because we need to have what we paid for. And we need to have what the people are still paying through their taxes.
Exactly. Now, who would be responsible for that $1 million you're talking about?
That is what part of this ad hoc committee is going to be discussing, right. How we move forward and what we're going to do. Maybe at a later date, at another interview, once we have that resolved, I'll be able to say that. But at this point, I really can't say. There are some things going on in the background right now about that.
I would think there would be some legal issues and things like that.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And when do you see that kind of happening? Is that?
I would hope that we could resolve this within the next year or a year from now. That it's all taken care of, and we have what we actually paid for.
Great.
You know, it's like you buying a new home. It's like you building it yourself from scratch and hiring a contractor and hiring an architect, and then you get into your house and you find out, wait a minute, that's not, I had a 4-foot wide door there, not a 2-foot wide door.
But
start
would that
finding things.
Fall on the contractor?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to go to the contractor and say,
You have
hey,
to
fix
go,
this?
yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
You have to go back to the contractor and back to what you paid for, and yeah. So.
Okay. Another project you were talking about is the Valley Springs Safe Route to School. That's in your district, right?
Yeah, that's a project that when I first got hired on my last term, or got voted in on my last term, there was a big issues at Valley Springs School. The Vets Hall had broken ground on the new Vets Hall that's there now. And what was happening before is the buses were using part of that property to load kids and unload kids during the school time. And that was taken away, so now the buses were all on the street. And cars and mothers and fathers are trying to drop off their kids for school or pick them up when it was after school time to pick them up, and it was just creating huge traffic problems and issues with kids running out to meet their moms. It was just a dangerous situation. And so I met with Valley Springs Elementary School, COG, and CHP, and we came together and applied for a grant that would allow us to put a safe route to schools project together and make it a shovel-ready project. And I say shovel-ready, that means it's ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it would be ready to widen streets, put in sidewalks, alleviate some of the congestion by redoing some of the streets and opening some other areas up down towards where the highway is in order for things to flow more swiftly. We also had the same type of project and same type of concerns here in San Andreas at San Andreas Elementary School, and we have what we call the Pope Street project too, that's moving along. And we're at the point with the Valley Springs community or Valley Springs Safe Route to School project where we're just about ready to have it ready to go and look for funding for it. So that project I hope to have started and moving forward here within the next year. And that includes putting sidewalks in, that includes taking down the existing telephone poles when we do the construction, and having all the electrical go underground. That will help widen the streets out. And PG&E is committed to hooking the homes up from that line underground for free. If they had a hookup from a pole, it's not going to be underground. They will run and hook up to all the property owners from the new underground line with no cost.
Oh, so they're willing to do that, yeah.
Yeah, they are. It's a good project. I think it will alleviate a lot of that. Some of it has been somewhat alleviated with the Vets Hall, allowing them to do some parking now in the new parking lot down front. But at the time, a lot of their construction, that old hall was there, it hadn't been down, and they were constructing a new hall, so there was construction traffic going through there. It was just not a good situation, but it's helped a little bit, but this should really make it flow nice and upgrade all of that area going through down Daphne Street, Pine Street, all that area should see improvement coming up.
Well, I imagine it's going to become more important now that kids are going back to school, with the COVID and all that.
Yeah, we kind of missed a window here a little bit because they weren't going to school, and it was a perfect time to do some construction. And so now with them back in school, it's going to be somewhat of a dodgeball type thing, is when they're in school doing some construction, and when they do spring break or summer break, they're out for the summer trying to get it all completed. So yeah.
Well, we mentioned COVID. How has COVID affected the board? What have you had to do, and how are you dealing with the COVID and vaccines and getting vaccines in place, that sort of thing?
Yeah, COVID. We were doing Zoom meetings where we didn't meet. The board didn't meet in any one room. It was all Zoom. Everything was Zoom. We did that for a while, but for the last couple months, I'd say the last 3 or 4 months, we have been meeting as a board in the boardroom, just the board members, and everybody else is Zoom, and any public comments is done through Zoom. Nobody else is in that room at all except for Susan, who films it. You'll be able to see it on film or during the Zoom. You can go into Zoom. All the cameras are from Susan, and we conduct our meetings. It seems to be going well. I prefer to meet in person versus Zoom. Zoom at first was okay. I still do Zoom with all my other committee meetings. It's just not the same as being in the same room with everybody, and I'm sure a lot of people understand that. We maintain our 6 feet. We have 3 people at the diocese with a major space between us, and then 2 of the supervisors are down below. And we do have one other person. We do have the board clerk in the room also. And it seems to work out well. Seems to work fine.
But citizens can ask questions through Zoom, that sort of thing?
People can ask questions through Zoom. Any public comment on an item, there's a time during that item that they can call in and have their comments heard. So it seems to be working well. It's not the same as having an open meeting where everybody's in the room, though. So
have you seen an increase since people can just sit in their living room and talk to the supervisors, that more people might want to have public comment rather than having to go down to the hall and all that?
No. It's really kind of cut down quite a bit on public comments. For whatever reason, I don't know. But they do have access. I'm not sure why they don't.
Now, where are we with vaccines in the county?
Vaccines in the county. We are getting quite an allotment of it now. It was touch and go at first. It was up to the state. It was not being dispersed, in my opinion, adequately. The numbers weren't there. The state more or less pulled out and got a third party to take it over, And now with the influx of different types of vaccines, Johnson and Johnson and Kaiser and the other things, there's more available not only through the county, but other outlets, CVS and Safeway and other areas that you can get a vaccine and vaccinated on. But as far as quantities, we're getting a lot more, and not close to adequate, but we are getting there. And from what I understand from the governor last Wednesday at his conference, his Wednesday conference, that starting April 16th or April 15th, anybody 16 and above can get vaccinated. So no longer be these tiers that they put forth. And you can, there'll be a lot more available vaccines. So it should not be a problem being able to get an appointment to get vaccinated. And I will say this, please get vaccinated. I got my vaccination. I get a flu vaccination, have every year since I was 50. I believe in vaccinations. I have not been sick with the flu since then. I got my vaccination, COVID vaccination. I got the Moderna, which was 2 shots. A lot of the ones now are just 1 shot.
Did you have any reaction at all? Some people have.
Yeah, I didn't on the first dose.
Yeah.
On the second dose, I got for about 2 or 3 days just exhausted. It just seemed like I was exhausted, and it just, everything seemed to be just dredge to do, you know, just God, I'm tired. And the weird thing about it was, though, I could be sitting there in my chair, or I could be at home watching TV, and I'd start to doze off, and then I'd get up to go to bed. I go to bed, I couldn't sleep.
Wide awake.
Yeah, I'm wide awake, you know, and then you get up and then you feel exhausted. So, but it lasted 2 or 3 days. I don't want to deter anybody because it really wasn't that bad. It just, that's the way it affected me. It affects people different. Some people don't, a lot of people don't infect at all. But it wouldn't deter me from doing it again if I had to do it again. Because I truly believe that the vaccination is the route to go. It's prevented so many diseases throughout time in the world, smallpox, polio, the flu, just so many different things that people got vaccinated for, and it prevented them. It actually works. So people talk about herd immunity, but I prefer to just get vaccinated and not rely on.
Now, are you facing any pushback on the vaccines? I mean, some people don't want to get vaccinated. Do you?
Not really. That? You know, said I haven't. Not really. I've had some complaints about people not being able to get an appointment. I've helped several people get appointments and get in line for it. But with the opening up and the abundance of vaccinations becoming available now, especially starting tomorrow, April 1st, I really haven't heard too much about anything. My concerns are, and have been, if anybody's noticed on any of the board meetings, I've consistently said that this District 1 and District 5 are the hotbed areas in this county of the COVID case numbers, if you look at them.
And do you know why? Why would that be?
Well, there's many reasons why. I really don't know. I just look at the numbers. It could be because people work, a lot of people that live in this area work in the valley, they travel. You know, I don't want to speculate on that because it would be simply speculation on my part. But my concern is that we have a testing site set up continuously every Tuesday at Ironstone.
Okay, that's county run.
Yeah, that run by the county. That's not where the hotbed is. And I'm not saying anything about the people that live in that area. I'm just saying about if we're fighting the fire, aren't we trying to fight?
But where the fire is.
Yeah, the fire's down here. And it's, now they've set up at Frogtown a vaccination clinic, countywide vaccination. You know, it's not quite as far as Ironstone, but I've consistently said at the board meetings that we need to have a testing site and a vaccination site in the Valley Springs, Rancho area set up at least once a week. And today, for the first time at the Vets Hall in Valley Springs, we had a clinic for vaccinations. It was just starting, the first one, so it was a limited number, but I expected to see it's expanded from here and going out. So it shouldn't be a problem to get, if you live in that area or any other area, a appointment to get your vaccination and tested also. There's going to be a test site set up where you can get tested also if you feel you need to get tested. So, and by all means, please get tested. If anything, if you feel sick, get tested and stay home until you get the results of that test. It will work wonders for everybody.
Where are we countywide with the case numbers?
Well, I can tell you we had about 1,900, and the last meeting I think was 1,979 positive cases. We had 13 active cases and 0 in the hospital. I believe we had 51 deaths total
Through the whole
pandemic since March 20th of last year. So we have gone into the red zone. We were in purple, which was complete shutdown. We now are in the red. We had just a little bit of a spike. We were at 11 and we went to 13, so that spike shot us down to where we're still in the red, but we were going to look to go to the next level, which was orange, which would open up more. But because that little bit of the spike, it put a little bit of a damper on it, and we'll see.
What does red mean? I mean, can you go to a restaurant, or what?
You can go to restaurants are now open. You can go inside. Before in purple, you had to sit outside. Right. You can go inside. It's limited to 25% occupancy. So they can only serve a maximum of 25% full house. Whatever it says, the occupancy is, for the room occupancy is 25% of that. Okay. So it opens up some other things as far as hair, getting your hair cut, hair salons, and those types of things. Those are open.
Good. People are getting shaggy.
Yeah, and believe me, I need a haircut. But so the orange really opens it up quite a bit and allows all kinds of things to go on. In yellow, you're just about basically open. The red at least allows gyms to open. You can open, the gyms are open, and that's a limited number there too, and you have to wear a face mask in the gym because of all the hard breathing and things going on. But you know, it's not ideal, but it does help out some of the businesses.
Well, let's hope we get to orange.
Yeah, let's hope we get to orange. Let's hope we get to yellow.
Okay.
And the only thing that's going to save us if you get vaccinated and the numbers go down and we're looking good, and the tests keep coming back that there's no COVID, and they're negative, and
well, here's to a whole new future and a whole new normal.
Yeah.
Gary, I think we're out of time. So,
we are.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming and letting us know what's going on with the county. I'm Sid Marsh. This has been Inside View, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.